In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Pinnacle Odds Dropper, which is a new piece of value betting software which is suitable for everyone. It's very low cost at around £35 a month. We've covered value betting quite a bit on this channel, and it's one of the few proven methods that you can use to make money long term from sports betting. So let's get into it. Alright, so this is the Pinnacle Odds Dropper dashboard, or terminal as they call it, and as the name implies, Pinnacle Odds Dropper, it alerts you to when the odds are shortening on Pinnacle. So you can set yourself up with various different filters. So you've got the alerts, which is the drop-in odds. You can set up alerts for limit changes on Pinnacle, and you can also set up alerts on the opening line, so opening odds when Pinnacle opens a market. You can set it to alert you to finding out what the odds are as soon as they open the market. So you see I've got a few here, and that noise that you just heard was a new alert that's just come through. So this is on the Real Madrid versus Atalanta game, which is today in the Super Cup, and you can see the alert happened, it was about 10 seconds ago, and Atalanta have been backed in from 6.28 to 6.15, and the no vig price, so this is the price without the margin, which means if you can basically beat this price, then you're getting a value bet. So yeah, I really like this software. Like I say, it's very cheap, and something that's really cool is it lets you know the limits. So these are the current limits at Pinnacle. Well, the current limits are £7,500, and the opening limits were £500. So it's quite good really, because you can also use it, I would say, as like a trading indicator. So it looks like Atalanta are kind of, you'd say kind of at the top of the range. If you're someone that's done any technical trading, you can also kind of use Pinnacle Odds Dropper for that as well. So this is interesting to me that we're seeing some backing coming in for Atalanta now, which might mean that they are at the top of the range, and that's something you can look at. But yeah, but other than that, you could just use it for straight up value betting purposes. So if you're able to get, for example, 7 with some bookmakers on Atalanta, that would be a good value bet. Alright, so I'll just pause these alerts just while I talk about the filters that you can create and how to create filters. So it says configure alerts here. So I have 4, and you can put them all together. So under all, you'll see alerts for everything. But if you want to look at just specific alerts, you can create them. And you can see here I've got one for football 1, I call it. I've got one for high limits, which is once Pinnacle are offering quite high limits, I just want to see even shorter term moves. Like I said earlier, more for to look at kind of trading angles really, to look on Betfair and compare the prices, and if I can get something that is similar to the no vig price, and I think that the odds are more likely to shorten than they are to drift, then I think it's a good way to trade. But there's other sports as well. So for example, I've got one on MMA. So it flagged up some stuff which was yesterday on the Dana White's Contender Series. And I've also got one for tennis as well. So I'll just show you how to set up these alerts. So you can see up here where it says configure alerts. This is where you can set up your new alerts. So you've got that new alert tab, and then these are the ones that I currently have already. So I've got high limits. I got rid of limit change, so that's why that's in red, because that's not currently active. So for our high limits, I'll just show you what I've got. So I'm looking at the sport of soccer. So obviously, there's various different sports with Pinnacle Odds Dropper. It's not just soccer. You can see here we've got tennis, basketball, hockey, volleyball, handball, American football, MMA, and baseball. And then I've got the markets here. So I've got the money line, I've got spread, so that's the Asian handicap. Money line is like the 1x2 market, as we call it in Europe. And then totals, and then for periods I've got the full match and the first half. And competitions you can include or exclude any. So if you wanted to make a specific filter just for the Premier League, you just put in Premier League, for example, and that would just filter only games there. If you want to exclude like the Russian League, because it throws up bets for the Russian League, and not all bookmakers offer the Russian League anymore, then you can do that as well. So here you've got minimum drop percentage, so I've got 2%, so it'll show me anything that is more than a 2% drop in odds with Pinnacle. Then you can set up the time interval between the alerts. You've got max time to the match starting, so this is up to 21 days, so I can get this as early as 21 days, but due to the limit, that won't really happen. You don't get many markets which have £2,000 limits 21 days out. And then obviously you've got the odds range as well, and then limit range. So yeah, like I say, I like to look from like a trading perspective more at higher limits, as this is when I think there could be like reversals at higher odds. But yeah, if you're doing it just for value betting, you might want to look at lower limits, for example. So if we go here on football 1, you can see that I've lowered the limit to £750. And then over for MMA, again, I'm looking at minimum drop percentage a little bit higher, 3%. And again, limit range is 1,000. And then I've got one for tennis where I'm looking at big drops in odds. So we've got 10% drops on Pinnacle, and again a decent sized limit range. Alright, so let's take a look at how to set up a new alert. So I've gone on a new alert here, and I'll change it because all of mine are dropping odds alerts, but let's say you wanted to look at limit changes. You're going to go with football. We'll just go with money line again, and we'll remove first half. So we just want to look at money line, and we just want to look at 1x2, and we want to have a look at when the limits go up. So we want an increase, and we're going to go from like 750 upwards. An odds range, we'll just put it up to 10, and we'll just call it limit change. And that enabled is just for sound, so when it's green, obviously you're going to get alerts for that. So if we go back to the dashboard, and we're here, we're on limit changes, we can see here, we can click on it, I'll resume alerts, and then if there are any limit changes for Pinnacle for 750, it went from that above where it went to 500 to 1000, it would show you what was happening in that market. So let's just have a quick look at how to use Pinnacle Odds Dropper from a value betting perspective. So we can see here with this alert that we got 20 minutes ago now, that Atalanta have been backed in at high limits, at 7.5 grand limits. So, you know, it's taking at least a decent amount of money to move these odds. And the no vig price, so the true price, according to Pinnacle Odds Dropper and Pinnacle's odds with the margin removed, is 6.67. So we'd have a look and see if we could beat that anywhere. So on Odds Portal, can't find anywhere close to 6.67. But if we look on Betfair, we can see that Atalanta are odds of 7. Obviously, you would have to remove the 2% commission from this as well. But with the likes of Smarkets and Matchbook, you can get 0% commission deals through like Odds Monkey. So at this point, it would probably be a bet. I'd be taking Atalanta at 7 and be quite happy that I've got a little bit of value there. And not just value, but we've got downward momentum on these odds at high limits, so that's a good sign as well. So I do think that Pinnacle Odds Dropper is probably best used as a piece of value betting software. However, I do also think that you can use it as a technical trading indicator with the limits being there as well. So something that I've tested out is what happens when odds are pretty much drifting the whole way since opening, but when they hit high limits, they start to get backed and there's a reversal, there's a trend reversal. So I tracked the odds that I backed them at here on C, and then on D we've got the CLV, so the closing line value. So some of it's negative and some of it is positive. But after 44 bets of looking at this trend, I found that on average there's a 4.3% edge against the closing odds. So this is quite interesting. It's a small sample size, but again, I think it just shows that Pinnacle Odds Dropper probably has more uses than just being purely a piece of value betting software. Something else that is really good about Pinnacle Odds Dropper as well is that you don't just have to look at these alerts. You can actually look at basically all the markets that are being offered. That are being offered on the Real Madrid versus Atalanta game. So you can see it's got all the current prices, previous prices, and openers. So the NVP is the no vig price. So this is the true price, which means that if you can beat any of these odds, then you're getting a value bet. So this is the Pinnacle price currently. This is the VIG, which is the margin that they have, and then this is the limit. So you can see Atalanta have been backed in a little bit more. And if we wanted to look at the Atalanta price, you just click it and then it'll give you the graph here. So you can see, like I said earlier, it looked like, you know, they were kind of topping out, and then we're seeing a bit more money coming onto Atalanta. But if we wanted to look at the Real Madrid price, we could click on Real Madrid and it would show us what's happened there. So Real Madrid have been backed in pretty much steadily since the opening price. But again, now they're starting to reverse, as we've seen with Atalanta coming back in, as obviously all the markets are correlated. So when one moves, something else has to move. Something comes in, something comes out. So you've also got spreads and totals, first half money lines, and you've got all the alternate markets as well. So you can have a look really at all the markets, all the spreads for the Asian handicap, the totals. So yeah, there's a ton really that you can have a look at. And obviously if you have a lot of bookmakers available to you, and if you have slow moving bookmakers, you could basically just run straight right through this and see if you can find any outliers. So how does Pinnacle Odds Dropper compare to other pieces of value betting software? It compares really well in terms of speed. I found it very fast. It must at least match the much more expensive value betting softwares that you can get, such as TradeMate, Rebel Betting, BetBurger. They're all relatively quick, but I found Pinnacle Odds Dropper to be at least as quick. It possibly might be a little bit quicker in some respects, and it's a lot cheaper as well. The only drawbacks are that you don't get like specific bookmakers, so you can't compare the price straight away with the bookmaker, and it won't highlight you know, which bookmaker is offering the value bet. You do have to do some manual work yourself by just having either the bookmaker open with you or having Odds Portal, Odds Check, or something like that. And it doesn't track bets either. So for example, with TradeMate, which is a piece of software which is a lot more expensive, it's like £120 a month, it might even be more than that now. This will track everything for you in terms of your profit, ROI, number of trades. It'll give you a little graph. But obviously, Pinnacle Odds Dropper is much cheaper at £35 a month, so you will have to track your bets yourself. But again, you can just do that in Excel. It's not a big deal, really. Personally, I've really enjoyed using Pinnacle Odds Dropper software, and I think it offers a lot of value considering the price point, with it being much cheaper than all of the other value betting softwares that are available. They also have a mobile version of the site as well, so this is the desktop version, but the mobile version works great. And if you do want to test out this software, or you want to take a look at it, I'll put a link in the description, and if you use that link, you will get 15% off your first month. So yeah, it's well worth trying out, and I'd recommend it.